So welcome, and I'm going to kind of go over and show you guys how I created this image of myself today. So the trick here is I generally knew what I wanted to do. Now, I wasn't positive exactly what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to use thresholds, and I was going to basically create myself into a black and white kind of image where it's just black and just white, and then import something into it. But that's really all I knew. And then I kind of found this image, and I kind of like that. So I wanted to import and try that as a texture into that area at first and see how that turned out. So give me a second, and I'll kind of walk you through the process as best I can. We will probably actually change a few things as we go. Once you do it one time, you learn what you like better and how things can work better. So I'll show you how to do that. So I started off with this image, and the trick here is I shot it on a white background because I knew I needed to cut myself out. Now that's really important when you're basically working on an image, is knowing what you're going to do first makes everything a whole lot easier. If this is a black background, this would be very difficult to do. So we're just going to get rid of that little dark circle so it's not as quite as evil looking. All right. So we'll just clean that up, and I think we'll be good then. So the next thing we're going to do is just make a basic adjustment layer and brighten this image, because basically whatever is light is going to show and whatever is dark is not going to show. So I'm going to create a second image. I'm going to brighten this up, and I'm just looking at my eye. I'm going to hit Command I, and we're going to go up in here and just brighten this eye up. This one doesn't matter because it's going to get dark. So I'm also just going to come here and lighten this area up and just lighten the texture of my hair up a little bit as well. So that looks pretty good. I think we're going to be okay with that. So we're just going to flatten this image, and now we're going to cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the quick selection tool because it's going to make it really easy. We just drag it over my face and hit my shirt, and bam, we're done. That is selected out. So having that strong contrast just makes it really easy. Next, I'm going to click on selected mask, and we're just going to grab this kind of hairbrush here, and we're going to just get the edges here so they're a little bit better selected. Now, this is not going to make a huge difference in what we're doing and the way we're doing it. So we're going to make that selection and then change this to new layer with mask, because we're going to want that mask later on. So having that simple, boring mask is going to make a big difference later on. So we're going to drag myself over here, and that looks better. And to help myself is you can see I'm going to hit Alt and click on the mask. You can see since I moved it, it left this white space, and then it's really easy to deal with because you just need black, 100, make my brush bigger and harder, and we'll paint that in, and that will solve issues down the road. Alright, so that looks a lot better. So hold down Alt Option, click on your mask, and you're back to where you wanted to in the beginning. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to now use that threshold to create the basic black and white image. So selected on this top image, I'm going to go up here to Image, Adjust, and down to Thresholds. So with threshold selected, I'm okay with this going all black here, but I'm looking at the rest of the image to see how I want the detail to kind of come out. So if going to the left, I'm getting more highlight detail. All right, and that looks pretty good. So that's at 101. All right, I'm going to actually make a duplicate of this. So Command J, because I think I'm going to need to do this in 2 steps. So the first one, we're going to go back up to Image, Adjustments, and go to Thresholds, and we will make that 101. because I like the eye detail, and I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to go back up to this second image, and I'm going to go to adjustments and to thresholds, and I'm going to leave this one darker, and I'm going to hit OK. So what I'm basically going to do now is kind of combine these two images together. And so with that off and that on, I can control how I look in the image. So I know that I liked the eye better in this, so I'm going to make this brush smaller and a little bit softer, and I'm going to go in here to my eye, and I can easily paint that out. Right? So X. It looks a lot better. So we can go into this image, and let's see, we want to play black. So if I want to lighten this area of my beard, I can come in here and just kind of lighten that. Same thing up here, we'll just kind of lighten this up in here. I'm going to turn this one off. Whoops. And that looks pretty good there. Alright, so I'll turn this off and on. Yeah, I want that all black like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I think that's what where we're going to stay. Now I want this mask, so I'm going to hit Alt. I'm going to drag this down to this background image, which is not letting me do. That's alright, because it's turned off. We're going to hit Command J, and I'm going to Alt drag this down, and I'll just turn all this off because I don't care if that's on or not. You can leave that one on. Leave that one off. Alright, so I'm going to select both of these images now, and I'm going to hit Shift and select them both and hit Command E, and that's going to combine those two layers into one layer, which is definitely what I want. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do now is kind of drag this abstract image into my image. So I'm simply just going to grab the move tool and go up to my image and come down here. This doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to kind of fiddle with this and move it around. I'm going to go ahead and change the blending mode right away to darken or multiply. So you could, there's darken, there's multiply. You can see they both do the same thing. So what you'll notice is, what's that doing? Anywhere there's white, it's letting that image shine through, or I can see it goes into the white area, and anything that's black below it, the image is not going over that section of the image, which is exactly what I want. However, the image is too small, so we're going to use transform, which is Command T. It's also under the edit menu up there, and I'm holding down Shift and Alt because I'm going to scale that from the center. Alright. Yeah, that looks pretty good. If I want to rotate this image, I can do this now. I just did it a few seconds ago. I think we'll try that. And then I'm going to hit return to apply that. I want this area up where my eye is. So we're going to adjust that or move it. And that looks pretty good. Actually, I'm going to come up here and hit transform again. I'm just going to move that to there and hit return again. And I think that looks much better. Alright, so now we have this kind of crazy image here, and then this black area in the rest of the image. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a black area for the background, which is very easy. We're going to click below all those layers, click a new layer. I'm going to hit Shift Delete, select color black, and now everything in the background is black, which is good because that's what we want to see. Alright, so we're going to take this layer, which we've already created, and we're going to duplicate it. Right? We're going to change this blending mode to normal. And then we're going to grab that mask that we had earlier, holding down Alt and drag this up here. And then I'm going to hit Command I to invert it because we want it on the background. So basically we have this in the background, it's in the exact same spot, and this in the foreground. Alright, so that looks great. So we have background, foreground. Now we don't want this part in the image. So I'm just going to take and get rid of that now, just to make it a whole lot simpler. So we can use the mask and black, 100, 100, yep, we're good. We can go in here and just paint that away. So we're just getting rid of that area. I'm going to simplify this so it's easier to look at and we have a better idea of what we're doing. Looks like it's catching my edge right there. That's okay. So that's basically our image right there. Now, the one thing I did is I left kind of this other back one blue, but I can come here and make a hue saturation adjustment, and we're going to clip this. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and you're going to get that little box with the arrow, right? So see, we've clipped that down here. So that's called a clipping mask. And what that's saying is any adjustment that we do here, it's only going to apply to this, not to this. Now we would not necessarily have to clip an image in this image because it's below this, so it naturally would not affect that. If I had this above, then you would definitely want to use a clipping mask. But it's just kind of good to show you guys how these things work. So we're going to go into this hue adjustment, and then as that's going to allow us to change this image to a different color. So I can just kind of slide this around. If I want to go purple and green, that looks pretty cool. All right. So I think I did sort of an orange in this image. So we're going to leave that orange. And you can see that this is just affecting that inner part of the image, not the outer image that we have back there. So that's exactly how we want it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is kind of adjust the brightness. So I'm going to actually, so we want to go here. So I'm going to take this level and I'm going to make a brightness adjustment, and I'm going to hit Command I, and we're just going to paint this into this area right here. And so the idea here is we want to just make that a little bit brighter than it was. Now if you noticed, when I made that adjustment, it's affecting the color, which is okay, but I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to come down here and change this to luminosity. And so that's just affecting the brightness but not the color by making that sort of an adjustment. All right, and that looks pretty good. So any other thing that I would want to change or darken or adjust, I would basically do in this section here. So I'm going to come in here. Now this is just a little bit dark, and I don't like this area. Even in the original image, it just looks weird. Like my face does not go like that. That's actually part of my neckline and my face. So if I turn these layers off, we can see there's a neck actually down there. All right. So this area, I don't want to really mess with it as much. So I'm going to go back up to the very top, and I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to take my brush, and I want black, and I'm going to lower my flow a lot. And we're going to come in here and just make this darker. And you'll see how this will affect it. Basically, I want to get rid of that transition line. right there, but also make this area darker. All right, so now if I come back and I turn these layers on, we can see right here is where we want to apply that adjustment to. So I'm going to drag this layer below that layer and try to make that adjustment. Actually, what I'm going to do is something different. I'm going to bring this back up. I'm actually going to create a new layer right above this. I pretty much got everything where I want it. So I'm going to create what's called a stamp visible. It is Command Alt Shift E on a Mac. All right. So it is a combination of everything that I just did. So now when I come in here and I apply or paint this area, it's going to be right on where I need it to be. It didn't work in this image that I had here because I shifted my image over, but I want this to kind of show up right in this area. So what we're going to do is just kind of contour and come in here and make a new layer to kind of fix that up. So I'm just going to manually, hopefully I can remember what I did. Also going to paint that out because I don't want that to show. All right. So we got that flow. It's going to slightly darken that. And so remember, flow is basically letting us build up over time. So anything that I want darker, I can just kind of paint over. I'm just kind of doing a fake shadow here just to kind of mold to my face and make things look a little bit more natural. So I'm controlling all that by basically just slightly darkening everything that I want to darken. So you can create depth by doing that. So just controlling the eye and how it moves around my image. But right here, I don't know if I like those little blue lines. I might want to just eliminate those. So we're gonna come in here with a small brush and we're gonna bump this up and we'll just kind of make that feather softer so you can't see it. And I think that looks better. I like how that shape just kind of moves and drops. Looks a whole lot more natural. I'm going to lower that flow again. Just refining the way things look. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do here is just kind of crop in. So I had this image and we're just kind of scale in and kind of get it to where I want it. I think in this version I made the little background, the little abstract pattern a little bit smaller. It's not a huge issue. So cropping this, it looks like it's going a little slow. It's probably a sort of a large file, yeah, so we're up to 1 gigabyte. I also in the final image sort of kind of went in here, see how I made this little adjustment. I'll make another one. I grabbed this and made a pretty big soft brush with a really low flow, and I really controlled the brightness and just the movement of that image there. And that's basically it. That's kind of how I created that image. Now I did a few other things here in the end and created the border and stuff. But the idea is just creating that positive and negative space, creating the background image twice, and that's allowing me to use a color adjustment to make the color one color on the inside and one color on the outside. So this will work with any type of photo, and you could either put the texture in the positive or the negative space for an image like this. So it's all really, really, really easy to do. We will come here, and instead of this being multiply, I'll change this to lighten. Turn that off. Turn that off. All right. So we will come up and drag this here. So you can see if I wanted the image to actually just be in the negative space or the black space, that is something else I could do. I mean, I don't think it's going to work in this type of an image. But, you know, lighten or screen is putting that image in a different area rather than the white. So it doesn't look so good, but you know, whatever you're trying to do or create, there's always a way to move or adjust or change the way things look. All right, so you just need to kind of think about how things work as far as positive and negative, and really pay attention when you shoot images. And hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Any comments or questions, you can leave those below. Please subscribe, because YouTube has decided they don't like small channels anymore. So I need to kind of build up a subscription base so they will continue to promote and put my videos on searches within YouTube. So thanks for watching.